In this student story, I'm going to talk to Alice about what it's like for her studying with depression. So Alice, how did depression affect your OU study?
I think the thing with depression is that it affects every aspect of your life. There's nothing that remains untouched when you're going through it. And of course, because OU study lasts such a long time, the chances of it occurring, I think, are probably higher. For me, I was working. I'm still studying with the OU, but at the time when I was doing my masters, I was studying, I was working. I just met my long-term partner. I was doing my my masters. Things that felt okay to take on when I started my studies, towards the end felt like a huge burden. It got very difficult. I think there was a point at which you started to feel a bit burnt out, that you just didn't want to carry on with it anymore. I came very close to giving up, very, very close, to the point where I was writing my dissertation and I'd put in so much work over the 3 years, and I got to the stage where I just said, I can't do this anymore, I just can't. And my then partner, who's now my husband, he was very supportive. He said, look, you've got so far. Just, you write it, I'll type it up for you. And without that, I don't think I could have got through. And I'll be honest and say I didn't come out with the grade that I would have liked. But looking back, the fact that I came out with a good pass I'm really proud of that now.
Did you ever feel like you were one of the only people experiencing this and the other students were sort of all trundling along nicely?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I think depression, you tend to feel like you're alone with it anyway. Mm-hmm. And studying with the OU, a lot of the time you're by yourself, and you have to put in effort to maintain networks with other students and things. It's also not the easiest thing to talk about. I'm not normally a nervous public speaker, but I can feel that this isn't the most comfortable of things to talk about openly.
Yeah.
So it's not the kind of thing you would rock up to a tutorial and then just go, oh, by the way, I've been feeling really down lately.
Yeah.
And this is really hard, especially when I think a lot of the time student communities try and support each other.
Yeah.
And I think when you're feeling low, when you're feeling depressed, it's not easy to admit that that's the case. So yeah, I felt very alone at times.
And sometimes people will say things that can be on a surface level, like, oh, don't worry, you'll get there, you've got so far. But it sounds to me like the support you had with your husband was more on a sort of practical and personal level, like, let's get this done, let me help you physically to type this up. And it sounds like that sort of support was what you needed at that time. It might sound not silly, but it's a difficult one to articulate, isn't it?
It is, but it's what got me through. And you're right. It's especially in relationships with other students that I formed. We'd go for coffee and we'd talk about TMAs and things. Yeah. And yes, you might say, oh, I've been finding it quite hard lately.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to go beyond that superficial level of, we'll get through this, because a lot of the time that's what people are looking for. And it's not like, I went to university first off and you're on campus with people all the time and you're living with people. It's quite a different experience.
Sometimes on Facebook I look at things and there've been some posts of students saying, one who had an exam saying, I just cannot cope, I don't know if I'm going to, you know, get through the night, and there's some real extreme levels. But on the other hand, sometimes people can say, oh, I've just done my TMA and I've done really well, and this, that and the other. And social media can be such a thing that can provide both outreach but also can be very isolating, because you can think everyone else is doing okay. So what advice would you give for other students who may be feeling in a similar position?
One of the first things I would say is try and build some sort of relationship with your tutor, so that they're aware that it's something that could crop up, even if it's not something you're feeling at the beginning.
Yeah.
It also that is then easier to pick it up further down the line if it does become more of an issue. I know that for me, I reached a point where I couldn't bear to even check my emails, my personal account, because I was terrified there would be an email from my tutor on there going, where's your TMA?
Yeah.
And I had to get my husband to check my emails for me. And I built up the relationship with her afterwards, but I think had I done that before,
Yeah.
it would have been easier to reach out and just say, look, you know I laid the groundwork with you
Yeah.
a little while ago, just I'm
Yeah.
not finding it easy at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
What slack can you cut me at the moment?
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
would be a big thing.
Thank you, Alice, for sharing.